lot of our viewers have been chiming in on this story. It's absolutely heartbreaking. This couple from Griffin, they're accused of this horrific case of child abuse. Allegedly, were trying to starve their child to death. And it's such a sad story. You know, this child was about 36 pounds. And the average child is supposed to be 70 pounds, 10-year-old boy. And according to investigators, was basically, had some sort of injuries, and they were left untreated. He was denied medical attention, denied food, denied access to warm running water, and so forth. And instead, what his parents did, allegedly, was lock him up in his room without any of that stuff, without any way out, even without any access to the outside world, no adult supervision, no electronic interaction. The Spalding County District Attorney actually said, I've tried, quote, I've tried many child abuse cases in my career, and this child, simply put, was being starved to death, and it's tragic. And she went on to say, quote, this case is disturbing, it's heartbreaking. And it really is. It's Tyler and Krista Shinley, the parents who are in jail facing numerous charges, attempted malice murder and child cruelty, involving this 10-year-old boy, their own son. So what's next, Suri? And I know these sorts of cases are close to your heart.
Well, it's absolutely disgusting, and it's going to be a long and painful trial for everybody. First of all, I think this goes to show the importance of school. When a child goes to school, at least they have contact with teachers and peers and other people that can see there's red flags, and they can ask DFACs to go do a home wellness check. But in this case, this child was kept away from the community, was hidden away, and this is why there's different types of murders, and there's ranges to punishment. Because if you compare a homicide of somebody shooting somebody in a bit of rage or in an accident or as vengeance, the act is quick. This child has been starved for months, and if we haven't seen the pictures, but the way that the district attorney described it, it is absolutely horrible. Eventually these pictures will be made public when it goes to trial, but it's unimaginable. I mean, the child had issues with his dental issues that went untreated and caused malformation of his face. I am just so happy that somebody saw him and gave him the aid that he needed, because it's very possible that if these defendants had seen him escape, he would have been in a lot worse suffering, because they would have punished him for trying to get some help.
So sad, so sad. And I also just want to encourage our viewers to check out our website, atlantanewsfirst.com. If you are trying to catch up on some of the details, you can find this story, and you see the various charges that this couple, they're accused of starving, imprisoning, abusing that little 10-year-old. And, we actually obtained the 911 call where a neighbor, Good Samaritan, had reported this lost boy wandering around the neighborhood, describing him as thin with discolored skin, visible injuries. He is now being treated for malnutrition and a low heart rate. Thankfully, is in stable condition. Absolutely, absolutely horrific. I know you've shed some light on what, Suri, we expect next in the justice process. Any further look into that?
Well, this case is going to be an interesting case of finger pointing, because this is the classic case of having antagonistic defenses. As for both people, the mother and the father they're probably both going to say, it wasn't me, it was her. It wasn't me, it was him.
Really?
I was a victim myself. I couldn't talk. I was under threat. The other person would have hurt me if I tried to get some help. So that's going to be very interesting, but it's still extremely disturbing. And we got to see, what about the other children? There's, I think, 4 other children that live in that home. Hopefully they are okay.
And so what do the prosecutors need to do at this point as they're building their case? What are they going to be doing? I know you're currently a criminal defense attorney, but you're a former prosecutor. If you're the prosecutor in this case, what are you doing at this point?
Well, I think they're going to do exactly what the district attorney said they're doing. These are fact-specific, record-heavy cases, they are going to get every single record that they can. This child was not going to public school or private school. I believe it was the child was homeschooled. So they're going to try to see, even when you're homeschooled, there's still group activities. Maybe they're going to interview other parents that are in the same program. Maybe they're going to interview neighbors. What could they see? When was the last time they were seen? Hopefully there's some medical records. And definitely they're going to get most of the good information, most of the good evidence from the siblings. They're going to have to talk to these children, which is going to be in itself traumatizing to them, because they're either going to be victims of trauma themselves, or they're going to have terrible guilt because they couldn't help their brother. And it's going to be a very sad case all around.
Yeah, very, very sad case. Very sad case. Thank you so much for sharing your insight on this. Hey, before we let you go, I want to ask you about another story that we're following, and this is Mableton. Of course, Mableton is Georgia's newest city, and it's at risk of being a city no more. It is in jeopardy of being dissolved because some residents of Mableton in Cobb County are now suing the city. This lawsuit was filed just days after Mableton's first ever council meeting. The plaintiffs, they're 5 residents, and they claim that the bill which created the city of Mableton and the referendum voters passed were unconstitutional. And the reason for this is they say that Mableton's ballot question and the city charter didn't just create the city, but it's a community improvement district. And the plaintiffs say the state law categorizes those as separate governmental bodies. They believe putting both in one bill violated the single subject bill of the Georgia Constitution. If the Cobb County judge rules in favor of the plaintiffs here, it would mean the creation of this new city. And, you know, is at risk, right? And the election of its mayor and the city council members would all be void. The area would then go back to being unincorporated Cobb County. Cityhood proponents would have to start all over again. So first of all, what do you think of their argument, Suri? Do you think that they have a valid legal argument?
I think it's a very legitimate argument. And I mean, the reason is that when something is put out to the voters, when it's put as a referendum, the Constitution requires there be just one issue. Why? So we don't confuse issues. And this is the most democratic thing to do. Let the voters decide. So we can't put cityhood and legalizing marijuana on the same ballot. We got to put them separate, right? So I think that's a great point that they have, because they did create 2 separate entities. They should have been 2 separate ballots. However, at the end of the day, it just seems that the only people that are going to win here are the lawyers. This is going to be a drawn-out battle. It's going to last years, and there are many benefits to being incorporated as your own city, and there's also some drawbacks. Some of the things that people complain about is that you're getting taxed twice. You're paying county taxes and you're paying city taxes. One of the great benefits is that your city taxes are going to your city. They're not going to a slush fund for the county. They're actually going to your local community. You're going to see results. You're going to see those potholes patched up. You're going to see many benefits and resources that are going to be specific to your city. And the reality is that people voted, and overwhelmingly they voted in favor of the city, and some voters who they lost. And then the only thing they can do is go to the courts. I do believe it's a legitimate argument, and we will see what the court ultimately does. But like I said, the winners are the lawyers here.
Very interesting. I know that a lot of people, especially in Mableton, and especially in Cobb County, are going to be following the outcome of this. Thank you so much, Attorney Suri Chadha Jimenez, for joining us with your analysis.
Thank you.
And again, just want to encourage our viewers to check out our website, landandnewsfirst.com, because you're going to find all of these top stories in great detail. And, you know, of course, we're always here streaming as well. And then our traditional television broadcast starting at 3 p.m. Thanks for joining us.